you see this netting here that's supposed to keep the blackbirds out. And the reason that is that we have what we call a kind of exclusion trial here in a Latin square design where we have 2-row and 6-row barley, in which in each block we have one of the 2-row plots and one of the 6-row plots shielded with this netting to avoid any blackbird coming into it. And the reason for that is that in the last couple of years we've noticed, now that we have more 2-rows in our trials, that blackbirds, whenever there is a slough close by and there's blackbirds, the blackbirds love the 2-rows. Which begs the question, do they actually have a preference for 6-row versus 2-row? Which then, in the larger context, may explain why 120 plus years ago, the Midwest, the upper Midwest, went to 6-row barley for malting. We're kind of unique in that sense that everybody else in the world has always used 2-row for malting, in part because the kernels are more uniform sized, which gives you a little bit higher malt extract. The Germans have always used 2-rows, and so a lot of the microbrewers too in the U.S. always wanted to use 2-row barley. And so, but in the Midwest, we have a 100-plus year tradition of growing 6-rows, and the 6-rows in themselves were selected over time to be what we would call rather hot, meaning that they have a lot of enzyme activity. And that enzyme activity allowed them, the brewers at least, to use adjuncts like corn and rice to still make a lager style beer, which is what we call the American lager. If you were in Germany, they would frown upon that. The oldest consumer law in the world is still the Reinheitsgebot, where you can only use malt, water, hops, and yeast to make a Pilsner, or any beer for that matter, unless it's a Hefeweizen, in which you can add wheat to the grain bill. So this is a little bit of a side experiment that we started this year to kind of answer the chicken and egg question, which one came first, the 2-row or the 6-row, and with that, the malting use in brewing. So hopefully, and here in Crookston we don't have a lot of blackbirds, but this trial is also on the St. Paul campus where we have a little bit more blackbirds. And hopefully next year, if COVID-19 doesn't keep throwing monkey wrenches into this research, we will have it at a couple of sites where we're close to sloughs and we can also start feeding the blackbirds.